All right, so today I'm going to show you how to do an animation for your pickups and also to add a little billboard GUI to your pickup. So when you see them, you're like, oh, it's a can, and it picks it up. And see how it kind of zooms in toward you? That's kind of cool. So I thought that was a pretty good thing to add to your game. So I'm doing a video on that. So let's go and get a clean workspace and start from scratch. Let me just pause the video. And there we go. I got my clean workspace here. Let's add some items to pick up, and we can do our cool animation for our pickups. Let's see, I'll call this money, right? That's kind of cool. And I'll make it green. And fabric kind of looks close to money, so I'll do fabric. All right, that's kind of a big stack of money, so let's make it a little bit smaller. Let's make it 2.5 and 1. There we go, a little stack of money there. And I'm going to put a Boolean value so we know it's a pickup. So I'm going to call this pickup. There we go. And then you're just going to check this. You can see value, check. So the pickup is going to be true. It is a pickup. Let's go ahead and add one more item. Let's add a can, right? And I needed my pickup. I'm just going to duplicate this one, Control D, and drag it to my can. So I have a pickup on that too. And let's go back to can. Let's make it like a red, like a Coke can. And we'll make it metal. Let's see. Oh, it's alphabetical. I always forget that. There we go, metal. I'll make it smaller. I'll make it 1.5 and 0.5. There we go. A little can. I'm actually going to anchor it because I'm afraid it's going to roll away. You don't have to. You can play around with that. Let's see. Anchored. There we go. It's kind of hanging in the air. We push it to the ground. Boom. There we go. How's that one? That's good. All right. So we have our two little items that we can pick up. I'm going to make a pickup GUI, a little billboard GUI. So I'm going to add it to the can, and then I'm going to move it to starter GUI. But let me just add it to the can so see what it looks like in reference to the can. So hit a B for billboard GUI. Let's rename that to pickup GUI. It's kind of big. Let's change some stuff here. Always on top, click that so you can kind of see it a little better now. Enabled, we are going to turn that off. We're going to enable it with script, but let's keep it on now. Max distance, I'm going to make it 30 studs. And the size, I'm going to do absolute pixels because I don't want to play around with it too much. Let's do it 70 for the X and 30 pixels for the Y. All right, so let's add a text label to that. Let's call that item name. It's going to store the item name. See, it's really big compared to your screen GUI. So for size, I'm going to make it on the X, I'm going to make 1 and 0. If you don't see your X like that, you can just open it up. Right? I like to open it up and just change them here because I hate hitting those curly brackets and stuff. So I'll do 1 and 0. So that's going to make it 100%. This is a scale. The second number is offset. So the scale is 100% to the parent item, which is actually the pickup GUI. So 1, 0 on the X and 1, 0 on the Y. Let's go down to font. I'll change that to cartoon. I like cartoon. And we're going to change text label with the script, so don't worry about that. Font, so I'm going to make it yellow. And I'm going to scale the text. So it's kind of big, or it's kind of hard to see, I mean. Text stroke color, I'm going to make that visible. So I'm going to make that a 0. Got some outline. But now I can't see my item. So I'm going to scroll all the way to the top. Background transparency, 1. There we go. Now we can see it. And I actually want to pick up the, I want to get the pickup GUI slightly above the can. So I select pickup GUI. And they should have something called, here it is, studs offset. I'm going to change the Y, the second value there, change that to 1. So it's slightly above my can. That's pretty good. And you can play with that and see what you like. But I thought that was pretty good. So now my pickup GUI is all finished. I'm going to drag it to starter GUI, and I'm going to go to the enable button and uncheck it. So we don't see it. We're going to turn it on with code. All right, cool. So we got that set up, and we have 2 items in our world. Let's go to starter player and start scripting. So starter player scripts, open that up, local script, and I'm going to call this pickup MGR, pickup manager. All right, in my pickup manager, I'm going to need a few variables. I'm going to need my user input service, game get service, user input service. I'm going to need a player, and I'll do game.players and then local player for that. I'm going to need a mouse. So player get, that's a colon there, get mouse. I'm going to need my player GUI. So I'll say player GUI. That's on the player. We'll wait for child player GUI. So the starter GUI becomes the player GUI once the game starts. It gets cloned to the player. And let's see, local, we'll need a pickup GUI. So that's that little billboard we made. And that's going to be on the player GUI because we dragged it down to starter GUI. Wait for child, and what is it? Pickup GUI. So it's got to be spelled the same as that right there. This right here, that right there. All right, now we're going to do a function to show the GUI when we hover our mouse over the object. So we'll say local function show GUI. And we'll say if mouse target, so the target is going to be, it's going to have the item that you're hovering over with your mouse. All right, so if the target exists, then we're going to say, hey, look at the mouse target and see if you can find a first child that is a pickup, and it'll be a Boolean because we put the Boolean on the wood and on the money in the can, right? And then let's get the item from the target, if that is in fact true. All right. We'll say pickup GUI adorn, which means we're going to adorn the pickup GUI to the item. Pickup GUI item name. That's my text label. So I'm going to change that text to the item's name. That way we don't have to know whether it's money or cans or whatever. It'll just look at the item name and set the text on your pickup GUI. And then we will enable it so we can see it. True. All right, so if that is not true, then we're going to get our pickup GUI. We're going to hit enable equal false. Is it enabled? I'm sorry, it's enabled with a D. There we go. And then we'll get our pickup GUI, and adorn we will set to nil. All right, now we need to call this function, and we are going to use that user input service to do that. Let's say user input service, input changed, connect, show GUI. So now if I go ahead and play it, let's go ahead and check to see if we got something here. When I hover over my mouse, when I'm within 30, I think we set 30 studs, we should see it. There's our can, there's our money. So that part's working. All right, let's get to our second part. Now we need to be able to pick it up. So I'm going to need another function. I'm going to call this function pickup. So local function pickup, and we'll do if mouse target find first child pickup, then local item equals mouse dot target. Then I'll do if item, then local distance. I gotta see what the distance is from the player. Distance from character. So this is a good way to find out how far something is from you. Let me see if I got that right. So I got my player, I got a colon, distance from character, item, position. There we go. So if the distance is less than or equal to 30, then we can pick it up. And right now, I'm just going to print pick up item, because we're going to need a remote event to do that. So item name, let's see if that works. And oh, we have to hook up this function. We have to hook up this pickup function. We're going to do that to the mouse button one up event. We'll connect pickup. All right, there we go. Let's see what we got. Now we're just going to get a printout. We're not actually going to pick it up. We have to do that on server side, but we're getting pretty close here. So we got our little can. Oh, there we go. Picked up can. Picked up money. Good job. All right, let's continue. So we need to pick things up on server side. Let's put a remote event in replicated storage called pickup RE. So remote events are the gateway between the client and the server. You have to go through this to fire off a client's script. That was part of the filter enabling that Roblox did to prevent hacking. All right, here in server script service, I'm going to add a script, and I'm going to call this pickup items. All right. So what do we need? We need that remote event. So we got to get replicated storage, game, get service, replicated storage, and then we're going to get our RE, our remote event from replicated storage. So do RS, wait for child, and we have to call it pickup RE, whatever you called it in replicated storage. So we got those two things, and we're going to need a TweenService. Let's call it TS for TweenService. Game, get service, TweenService. All right, I need some tween info, so I'll call that TI for tween info, and we'll do this tween info new 0.3. That's the amount of time it's going to take to come to us when we go to click on it. We're going to do an easing style of linear, so the speed at which the object travels towards us is going to be linear. I'm going to do an enum for easing direction, and that won't change. You could do in or out because we're doing linear. So if you do in and it's like quadratic, it might speed up as you're coming in. I always have to play with it, or it'll speed up as it's farther away. It'll go faster, then go slower. So it changes the easing effect. All right, so that's 0. I just kind of glossed over that. That 0 is a repeat count. We don't need to repeat it. And this false right here is reverses. We don't need to do that. Time delay, 0, no time delay. All right, and let me get rid of that extra thing down there. Let's go ahead and make a function called pickup here. Pick up. I know it's kind of the same. I'm going to put a player in there and an item in there. This is going to be my event handler for my remote event. So local char player.character. I'll say local me. That's for the item to come to me, the player. That's going to be the me location. There we go. Me loc. All right. Char.humanoid root part, all right, humanoid root part dot C frame. So wherever I'm standing, wherever my player is standing, all right. For the item, I am going to hit can collide. I'm going to change that to false so it doesn't bump into anything, and then I'm going to anchor it so that it doesn't. Gravity doesn't affect it or anything else like that. I don't want any in-world stuff affecting it, only my script. Make a local for tween. I use my TS, TweenService. Create. I use item and then tween info. And now I have to give my ending information at the end of the animation. I want this to be transparent, so I'm going to transparency. I always spell that wrong. 1 size will equal a vector 3. So I'm going to shrink it down. Vector 3 new. I'm going to shrink it down to nothing. I'm going to make it 0, 0, 0. Let me put that on a new line so you can see it. There we go. So it's going to be invisible when it gets to me. It's going to be tiny, infinitesimally small. And the C-frame end location is going to be me log. It's going to be my location. And then I'll just play the tween. All right. Now that we have something over here, we got to catch that event. We have to say, what is it? What do we call it? RE, or remote event. There it is, RE. So RE on server event connect pickup. Sweet. All right, so now we can catch it. So now what we need to do, go back over to your pickup manager on your starter player scripts, and instead of this print line, we are going to be able to add a remote event. Let's go ahead and put it in there now. Remote event, fire server, and then send the item. The player will go for free. Oh, look at that, I got a spelling error. Server. Rats, there we go. Server. We need the RE. Let's go back up here. We need to get our replicated storage. Local replicated storage, game get service. Replicated storage, local RE is in replicated storage. We'll wait for child, pickup RE. So that is the gateway, right? So we needed to get that on our client. We needed to get that on the server. And when we fire this event, player is going to be stuffed in here. You don't even have to put it in there because you're coming from a local script. On the pickup item side, the player is going to get sent and the item is going to be sent. Or the player is going to be retrieved and the item will be retrieved. Alrighty, that's looking good. Let's try it out. Let's get in here. Under 20 minutes. I knew this was kind of hard. I tried to go fast, hopefully not too fast. No, hopefully we don't get an error. Can. Oh, look at that. Ah, look at that money. Alrighty, so now you have a cool little animation for picking stuff up in your game.